National Disability and Sacrifice Day takes place on March 21st every year in Laos to remember the day when, in 1946, some 68 years ago, French colonialist forces launched an aerial attack on Tha Khek in Khammon province to recolonize the country. Our news team prepares the following story to remember the revolutionary fighters who lost their lives and limbs for national independence. The Lao Revolutionary Party and the government has named March 21st as a day to remember the revolutionary fighters who lost their lives and limbs for national independence, fighting for the liberation and protection of the nation over the past decades. Today, the party, government, and Khammon provincial authorities hold a gathering in Tha Khek district to remember the Tha Khek battle, which killed more than 3,000 revolutionary soldiers and civilians. The gathering also aims to remind the new generation that, without the sacrifice of the past generation, Laos would be a colony of a foreign nation, and they would have no right even to their own country. The event also provides opportunities for new generations to learn how they can make sacrifices for national protection and development. National Disability and Sacrifice Day is a day for all Lao people to be reminded that, without the sacrifices of the past generations, they would not have the opportunity to enjoy the fruits of national liberation. Several decades ago, Lao people were fighting for national independence, and one of the major battles against French colonialists was the Tha Khek battle, which broke out on March 21, 1946, in the central part of Laos. The Lao Revolutionary Party and the government have named March 21st as a day to remember the revolutionary fighters who lost their lives and limbs for national independence, fighting for the liberation and protection of the nation over the past decades. The Tha Khek battle was one of the major battles in Laos during the war against the returning French colonialists after Laos declared independence from the Japanese fascists who were defeated in World War II. Tha Khek was one of the strategic military locations the French colonialists needed to occupy. In early February 1946, the Tha Khek Party Cell Committee opened a meeting adopting a resolution to enhance solidarity among Lao and Vietnamese revolutionary forces in the fight against the foreign aggressors to protect the revolutionary stronghold in the central part of Laos. The meeting appointed Prince Suphanavong as the commander-in-chief of the joint Lao-Vietnamese revolutionary troops, which consist of 800 soldiers. The troops were divided into 4 companies deployed in all 4 directions around Tha Khek to combat the invaders. On the battlefield to protect Tha Khek, Lao and Vietnamese people provided support to the revolutionary forces. Some of them helped the soldiers to build bunkers, while others, in particular the women, helped to cook food and provide logistical support to the army. Other Lao and Vietnamese people in Tha Khek reportedly were selling their property such as gold so they could buy food and supplies for the revolutionary forces that were ready to sacrifice their lives to protect the city from occupation by the foreign army. At 6 a.m. on March 21, 1946, French colonialist troops sent a warplane to distribute leaflets in Tha Khek town, calling on revolutionary forces to surrender. The French colonialist troops tried several times before they could enter downtown Tha Khek. At 5 p.m., the French troops were able to occupy the city center. The revolutionary force evaluated the situation. They would not be able to defend Tha Khek due to the fact the French forces had more soldiers and modern weapons. Therefore, they decided to leave the town for the neighboring Thai province of Nakhon Phanom. The revolutionary force and civilians took boats and crossed the Mekong to Thailand, but faced aircraft and artillery fire, causing the death of countless soldiers and civilians. A boat which took Prince Suphanavong also faced heavily fire. Fortunately, 1 Lao and 2 Vietnamese revolutionaries used their bodies to shield the revolutionary leader from the gunfire. Prince Suphanavong was seriously injured during his escape and taken to a hospital in Nakhon Phanom, Thailand. After the French colonial troops completely took over Tha Khek town, they massacred the remaining Lao and Vietnamese people who were unable to escape, which the surviving Lao people would never forget. The French troops did not want to waste bullets, therefore they used bayonets to kill people while children were forced into sacks before being thrown into the Mekong River. Some of the casualties were executed under the large traditional wooden mortars. The Thakhek battle caused the death of 3,000 innocent civilians. Houses and infrastructure in Tha Khek were destroyed, and families, husbands, wives, and children were torn apart from each other. Some years has passed, but the Tha Khek massacre and fighting spirit of the Lao and Vietnamese revolutionaries is still remembered. March 21st is not just a day on which Lao people remembered the dangers of war, but also a day to remind Lao and Vietnamese people to join hands, as they would not have been able to gain independence without cooperation and solidarity. The day is also time for all Lao people to be remembered that without the sacrifices of the past generations, they would not have the opportunity to enjoy the fruits of national liberation.
เพื่อระลึกหวนคืนเหตุการณ์ประวัติศาสตร์อันสำคัญวันนักรบเสียสละองค์และวันเสียสละชีวิตเพื่อประเทศชาติของนักรบปฏิวัติลูกหักหลานแพงอันประเสริฐของประชาชนลาวบรรดาเผ่าว่ารวมวเฉพาะแม่นประชาชนบรรดาเผ่าชาวแพงขมวน
Today, Lao people have the right to determine their own fate and design their own development path thanks to the sacrifices made in the past.